Good morning, good morning, good morning, guys. Dr. Wendy Dearborn here from the Laws of Attraction in Action.com. And of course, the Laws of Attraction in Action are right here on Facebook. We have the group and we have the page. So I see this, the little sign comes up. You're live. We're building an audience for you. So one of the things that I want to talk about this morning that has been the theme, my personal theme for this week, is really listening to my inner self. I have to say that I discovered that when my inner self is talking about food and the creation of food, not necessarily the eating of food, but food and the creation of food, I ain't even gonna lie, food and the eating of food. Okay, when it's talking about food, I tend to listen. So I don't know if that's sort of like the carrot, golden carrot or whatever that's put in front of me, but I do tend to sit up and listen if it involves food. So one of the earlier posts this week, and I'm saying this because of one of the earlier posts that I did this week, when I was talking about being led to Trader Joe's, buying the roses, blah, 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 all of this jazz. So what I want to talk to you about today is listening to your inner voice. And again, a series of things have been happening. Hey, Pumpkin. A series of things have been happening to me this week that have been really, and that was at you, Michael, that have really been driving this point home. I had found a dentist that I really like because I'd found a dentist. Well, darling, I found a dentist that I really, really like, and she actually gets me. She gets me when I explained about an experience I had and yada yada. She gets me. So one of the things I had asked her, and this was about maybe a year and a half ago or what have you, one of the things I had asked her was, you know, are you actually staying in this clinic? And she said, yes, I'm not going anywhere. All right. So I had an issue and I went back to the clinic, and it rolled out that when I made the appointment, I asked for her and they said, oh yes, blah, 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 blah. I got there, sat in the chair, and I noticed that some of the staff had changed, but you know, hey, okay, it is what it is. And I sat in the chair, and then this doctor came in. Well, you see, I know she doesn't know me, and I know me. And in true West Indian style, I say, who are you? I mean, serious attitude, who are you? She said, oh, I'm Dr. Whatever. I said, okay, that's really nice. I'm here to see Dr. Lee. And she said, well, she's not here anymore. So I said, your front office staff couldn't have told me that when I made the appointment. I actually asked for her by name. And of course, they were very apologetic. And she said to me, well, something or another, do I want her to work on me? And the answer to that was no, not particularly. So anyway, did what I did, went home, and I'm thinking, wow, Dr. Lee, you told me you weren't leaving. But you know, life happens and things. Thinking to myself, how am I actually going to find this woman? Well, you know how it is. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning and I wake up, bing! Wendy, she gave you a card. When you had seen her, she gave you a card with her cell phone number on it, and you put it into your wallet. I was like, yes. And you know, I couldn't wait to get up the next morning to do that. So I got up, looked in my wallet, and bam. So the next day I put a call into her and say that I'm looking for her, etc., etc. She calls me back and she just sort of says, oh, it's really nice to hear from you. But you see, my information or what I wanted, and I was very clear on what I wanted. Are you still in practice? Where are you practicing? And are you taking new patients? And so she texted me back something, and then she wasn't giving me the information. So then I put in another call, and I started it out with, look, here's what I want. Can you give me the information? If I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume you're not blah, blah, blah. So I've got this long text. I'm really sorry. I'm at a dental conference. Yada, yada, yada. blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, great. So she gives me the information. So I call and I speak to somebody, and they want, you know, all your not your medical history, but all your insurance, all of that jazz, and this and that, and they do everything digitally now, and blah, 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 blah. So they're meant to send me an email so I can fill out my medical history. So when I go for the appointment, all I have to do is hand them my driver's license and perhaps my insurance card, and they just, you know, make a photocopy, and you sit down and it's all done. All right. So I'm waiting on this email. Now, this was Tuesday. I'm waiting on this email. Email doesn't come in. I then go back into my email to make sure it didn't go into spam or into junk. It didn't. So the next morning I phone, and the same very harassed lady, might I ask, says to me she'll send me the email. And so that was Wednesday. No email. So I realized that they want this information and yada, yada, yada. So every morning I meditate. And when I was meditating, my inner voice said to me, that's not the place for you to go. And I'm like, but that's the doctor I want to see. So I get up and I make the call again. And this other lady, that was Thursday morning now, I make the call again. And this other lady answers the phone. And I said, well, look, I'm waiting on an email from you, etc., etc., etc. And so she said, yeah, I have you as Wendy Dearborn at something or another. I'm like, no, that's totally wrong. That's not my email address. And then we start going through the information that she needed. My husband's social was wrong. The name was written wrong. My name was written wrong. The social was written wrong. And it flashed across my mind, you know, hey, you don't need to be there. So we get that all sorted out. And she said, stay on the line, and I'm going to send you the email. So she sent me the email. It buzzed up on my phone to say that the email had arrived. Okay, we are in business. She has everything that she needs. So I get home from work yesterday, and last night before I went to bed, I actually was online, and I see that I have a missed call, and it went through to the office, and the office, my office here rings at home. And it went through to the office, and I look, and it's the I don't know what you call them. They've all got these bloody titles and can't do a thing. But it's the woman who deals with insurance, right? And so she says, she leaves a message. She said, Dr. Dearborn, I'm really sorry, but we're unable to validate your insurance. And then I start getting really, really pissed. What do you mean? I've had this insurance. I've been married for 31 years. 31 years and some months. I have had the same insurance for 31 years and some months. How do you mean you can't validate me? The two other offices in town that I am actually really registered with, they've validated me. What are you talking about? You can't validate me. So now I start going through the process. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I start going through the process to try and find out why they can't validate me, why she can't find me online, why blah, 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 blah. And I hear the voice, you're not meant to go there. And so I sit in front of the computer, and I do what I usually do when I'm a little stressed. So I'm going to give you a little thing, guys. When I start uploading music onto my Facebook page, usually I'm experiencing a level of stress or a level of frustration that's going to take me there. So I started listening to, who did I listen to? I listened to some Brown, Dennis Brown and Michael Gordon. I listened to some Lovers Rock, reggae music, Lovers Rock. So I'm sitting there. And again, I hear the voice. You're not meant to be there. So I go to bed and I wake up. And by now I've pulled all this documentation to say that I do have this insurance. I am validated. I don't need you to validate me. And on top of it, they were telling me, well, just come for the appointment anyway. Okay, like I fell and just bumped my head. Like I was just born. I go to the appointment. They do the work and they can't validate me. Guess who gets this whacking great bill? Me. So I'm like, okay. So this morning I get up, and on top of it, I woke up late, or later than I like to. So this morning I get up and I do my meditation, and I don't hear anything. I'm looking for, you don't need to be there. I go into my office, and according to their schedule, their office doesn't open on Saturday. So I phone, and it says, if this is about an appointment, press 1. If this is blah blah blah, press 2. Blah 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 blah. So I, press the correct or the according button, and they said, please hold. They're waiting on somebody else. So I know it's an answering service by the way the woman was talking. So I left my message and I cancelled my appointment. And when I cancelled my appointment, I felt such a tremendous amount of relief. I cannot explain to you. It was like a weight had been lifted off. It was although I would say that earlier this week, it was really emotional because my sister Rose was very involved. The colours, the whole night with the roses. And so I felt like this weight had been lifted off. I felt like, I don't know, I just felt it was really freeing. It was really freeing. And I think the word that I'm looking for, really, guys, it was empowering. I felt a sense of empowerment, self-empowerment, when I actually listened to self, listened to that still small voice within me, and I actually acted on it. And so this is twice this week that I am conscious, and I literally mean conscious, of self talking to self, or God, or the universal creator, or whomever your chosen deity is, or whoever it is that you think talks to you in your mind intuitively, insightfully. And I was very aware of this week that this is the second time this has happened to me, where it's like something huge. As I said, whatever day it was, Tuesday or Thursday, whatever day it was, that was an emotional day, really and truly. It was an absolutely beautiful day, and my roses are so beautiful. You should see them. It was really an emotional day, but it was the same thing. It was giving self instruction. So this week we had been talking on the show about the opposites, and I experienced within myself talking to me, the still small voice, that intuitive voice. I literally experienced it as the two gamuts, the two opposites. One that was fraught with frustration, because then people was really getting on my nerves. I don't even know how to tell you. At that particular clinic, they were really, I'm like, how'd you get one? You got my name wrong. You got my husband. I didn't say my husband's name was Edward. That's my daddy. I didn't say that was Edward. My husband's not. His name is Eddie. But anyway, that being said, I experienced the level of frustration there with that. And then the total opposite. I experienced, it was really wonderful, emotional, but wonderful. I had that experience of self-talking to self. And if you didn't catch the start of this, what I did say is when I've realized 3 things this week, 3 things. When inner self talks to self, and it uses food as the carrot, food as the directive, you got me. I'm listening. When it's stuff like, don't do that, I tend not to listen as much. I tend not to act on it as much. But where I was going with this, guys, is that you do have contrast and parallels, and you do have opposites. And today, this week, I experienced what I consider to be 2 extremes in listening to self. One was, as I call it, warm and fuzzy, and the other was definitely irritating. The other definitely got on my last nerve. But it was information. So where I'm going with this is, it's vitally important to do your own due diligence Where are you in the process of you listening to your inner self? Where are you in the process of acknowledging your intuitive or your insightful mind? Because we all have it. This is why we can, at the end of the day, if we've been in a relationship that has dissolved, this is why at the end of the day, with no malice, no ransom, no nothing, you can say, you know something, I never should have gone out with them in the first place. I really should. Something told me not to do this. It's that what I'm talking about. It's that inner voice that I'm speaking about. And everybody has that. So guys, it's really important to listen to your intuition. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I just wanted to wind up. Let's see. Reading a couple of things that I had put out, I think at last month, the beginning of this month, some of the things that I had put out. Guys, it's also important to realize as you move through life, and I've just switched gears, it's also important to realize as you move through life that sometimes it's just not that complicated. Okay, guys? Sometimes it's just not that complicated. And that's a fact with the whole thing with the dentist. You know, if the first go round, when they had my email, abominably, it was just so wrong. It's so wrong. How can you determine the difference between your intuition and your mind? Well, let me just say this, Sheena. You have, funny enough, I was talking about this last night. You have your listening, excuse me, you have your reasoning, your analytical and your logical minds. And these actually respond to, I call them the laws, right? I don't know what the scientific world calls them, but these faculties actually respond to experiences that you have. They do, they quantify what might happen based on an experience that you've had, yada, yada, yada. And then you have your intuitive mind. And your intuitive mind speaks very differently to your reasoning, analytical, and logical mind. It speaks to you different. Your reasoning, analytical, and logical mind will say stuff to you like, oh yeah, no, you've been there before, and no, you've been there before. I thought my client came. No, you've been there before. You don't like that. You're not going to like that. You're not going to like that because you don't like licorice, and licorice is aniseed and blah, 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 blah. And you know from that, you know that your grandmother has an allergy towards that, and you know blah, 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 blah. Oh, and it rained on you yesterday, and that could have been, your mind runs like that. All right, and that's really an exaggeration, but it will run on like that. It will run from one thing to another. And especially when it's something that you want to do. When it's something that you want, and I'm not saying that your laws, your reasoning, analytical and logical mind, I'm not saying that they don't have a place in your life. They do, they definitely do. They help you to quantify. They help you to have a greater understanding. Now your intuitive mind, that voice within you, it will literally say to you, no, they're not the same. It will literally say to you, don't turn right. When you go up the end of the road, don't turn right. Go straight. Your reasoning, analytical, and logical mind says, if I don't turn right, that means I'm going to have to take the scenic route home. I got all those traffic lights. There's all this road work. 5 minutes. I can be home in 5 minutes. But if I take the scenic route, I'm going to have to get home. It'll take me 15, 25. And if there's an accident, God knows everybody's going to be stopping to look at this. It's going to take me 45 minutes to get home. And you're approaching the turnoff. And your intuition says to you, don't turn right. Go straight. And you approach and you're like, look. And now you're fighting with yourself, and you make an executive decision in your life all the time. You make that turn, and you don't see anything, and you're like, yeah, I'm right. And you crest that hill to actually merge onto the freeway, and you see nothing but a set of lights, tail lights, red lights, wall to wall, nothing but lights. And you're like, oh crap, I should have listened to myself. And then you see the analytical, reasoning, and logical mind. At that point, they ain't saying nothing because they were wrong. But life is all about choices. So did that explain that for you, Sheena? Please type yes. Did that explain that to you, Michael? Please say yes if it did. That's the basics. The thing about your intuitive mind, it has an aerial view. It can see what you can't see. It has an aerial view. It's not down here with you viewing life that you've already experienced. It's viewing life from a whole. So that's really important, to listen to that inner, still, small voice. And there is a huge difference. There is a huge difference. Your inner voice doesn't argue with you. It doesn't, it doesn't rant. It doesn't rave. It doesn't tell you we're wrong. That is your logical, analytical, and reasoning mind. That is it. No, creative versus intuitive, please. Creative can be, although that's not what I'm actually talking about, but creative can be intuitive. Creative can be your analytical, reasoning, and logical minds. So it all depends, Michael, where you're going with that. So I'm actually talking about listening to your inner self, listening to your inner self versus listening to the self that has had an experience. You know, where I'm going with this is, don't walk down a dark alley. You're approaching it and said, don't go down the alley. But yet you say to yourself, hey, this is the quickest route home. I'm going to go there. But in regard to your question, creative versus intuitive, for me, there's not a versus there, because they do two different things. You can use your intuitive mind to access, through meditation, contemplation, whatever floats your boat, to access the creativity that you want. And then you can use experience to assist and support you in bringing that creation into manifestation. Does that make sense for you, Michael? Does that make sense for you? Type yes. If yes, because my client's here. Hopefully that makes sense. What I will do is I'll actually give a talk on that, because that's actually a very, very. So I hope that's been helpful for you. My client has arrived, and so I'm going to sign off. I'm yours truly, Dr. Wendy Dearborn. What confuses me is when my creativity is, do you know what, Michael? I'll do one of those. I'll do something on that. But like I said, my client's here. Gotta go. Love you guys. Dr. Wendy Dearborn. Check me out. The Laws of Attraction in Action, right here on Facebook. And yes, Michael, I agree with you. I might need a whole video. You might need a whole video. But love you, darlings, and I'll talk to you later. Heather, love you. Michael, Sheena, peace out. Bye.